All right, so for 7.2, we are not graphing. Can everybody say yay?
Yay!
Okay, we are going to be solving systems, and we have two methods. Oh, wait. We're going to be solving systems, and we have two methods to solve systems without graphing. The one we're going to learn today is called substitution. Okay? So what we have to do, does anybody remember how many equations are in a system?
Two.
Two equations are in a system. Okay? Two or more, but we're only working with two, right? Okay, so that means how many variables are in each equation? Two, x and y. Okay, so for step one, we need to first solve for one of the variables. So step one, you are going to solve for one variable. Just one.
Just one.
Just one. So we're going to either get y by itself or we're going to either get x by itself, whichever one is easier for us to do. Okay? Step two, we are going to substitute that variable that we just solved for into the other equation. What's another word for substitute? Replace.
Yeah.
Okay, whenever we substitute something in, what do we need to make sure that we use around whatever we're substituting? Parentheses. So right next to that, I'm going to write, so we remember, use parentheses.
In parentheses?
Yep. So in parentheses, write to use parentheses. Okay? Okay, step three. We are going to solve for the other variable. Okay, so when we substitute in step two, we're actually going to be getting rid of one of the variables. So now we're going to have one equation with just one variable. So step three, we need to solve for that variable. So let's say I solved for y, but I still need my x answer, correct?
Yeah, ma'am.
So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to plug in my answer back. So you plug your answer back into the original equation and solve, and that's going to give me an answer for the second variable. So now I'm going to have two variables, or two answers, x and y. So I need to write my answer as an ordered pair. Because what we're doing here is we're still finding a solution to the system. So what we're still looking for is that one point where the two lines intersect. We're just not actually graphing them anymore. Okay? So we're still looking for that one point where the two lines intersect. We're just not graphing them. So our answer is 1 point. Okay? So let's do some examples because this is easier to understand when we do some examples. So looking at example 1. Okay. Example 1, I have two equations. Y equals 2x plus 2 and y equals x plus 1. Now, step 1 said we needed to solve for one of the variables.
X plus 1.
Okay, look right here. That means I need either x by itself or y by itself. Is that already the case for either one of these?
Yes.
Both of them are already solved for y, correct?
Yeah.
So I can pick whichever one I want to. I'm going to pick this last one because it's a little simpler. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that in parentheses right now. And I'm going to substitute. Now this equation is telling me that y is the same as x plus 1. So I can take this x plus 1 and substitute it in for y into the other equation. Like copying and pasting. You know, on the computer, when you copy and paste something into a different document? We're taking this and pasting it in for y. So let's rewrite the equation. Y equals, so y is the same as x plus 1, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be x plus 1 equals 2x plus 2. So all I did was I substituted x plus 1 because it was equal to y in for y into the other equation. Okay, now I only have one variable, so I can solve for that variable. So how do I solve for x here? What do we want to do? Let's subtract 1x from both sides. So that gives me 1 equals 2x minus x? X plus 2. Okay, still not solved for yet, so what do I need to do? Subtract 2 from both sides. So that gives me 1 minus 2. Negative 1. So x equals negative 1. Now that's only part of it, so put a bubble or something around it. Don't box it so that you think that's your answer, because we're not done yet.
Wait, why is it negative 1?
Because we had 1 equals x plus 2,
Oh, that. Okay.
and we had to subtract 2 from both sides. Okay? So far so good? Okay, so I have x. Now I need to solve for y. I have 2 equations here that tell me y equals something. Which one do you guys want to use? X plus 1? It really does not matter. You can use either one. But x plus 1 is a little bit simpler. So what we're going to do is I separate my paper into 2. Y equals x plus 1, but we know what x is. What's x? Negative 1. So we're going to substitute negative 1 in for x up here. So y equals negative 1 plus 1. So y equals 0. Okay. Now this is not my answer. I have to write it as an ordered pair. So what would my answer be? Negative 1, 0. So second system, I have 3y equals x plus 6, and x equals y. I need to solve for a variable first, but before we do that, is a variable already solved for? Yeah, x equals y. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that y and we're going to plug it in for x, because x is equal to y, right? Yes? Okay, so what am I going to have? 3y equals y plus 6. Good. Okay, so how do I solve for y here? Yes? I would subtract y from both sides. So that gives me 3y minus y, 2y equals 6. Divide both sides by 2, so y equals 3. Bubble that, we're not done yet.
Wait, is that a 2 or a 3?
Y equals 3.
Where it says at the line.
Okay, so y equals 3. So I need to figure out what x equals. Is there an equation up here that's already solved for x?
Yeah, why?
X equals y, right? I know what y is, so I plug that in, so x equals
It's 3 equals 3.
3.
Wouldn't it be 3 equals 3? Because
No,
if
we don't know what x is yet, but we have y equals 3.
I know, but if x equals
If x equals y, then x equals 3. X is 3. So what is my answer as an ordered pair? 3, 3.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's what it's so
Okay. Example 3. Now, sometimes they're not going to give you x and y. You'll get different letters. Just make sure that when you write it as an ordered pair, you write them in alphabetical order. So we're using m and n here. So your answer is going to end up being m, comma, n. Okay, so just make sure you do them in alphabetical order. Okay? Alright, so we need to solve for a variable here. Is there a variable already solved for?
No.
No. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. M, right? M is equal to 4n plus 11. Put parentheses around 4n plus 11 right now before we go any further. So I know what m is, so I can substitute that into the second equation for m. So if I substitute it in, what would I get? Negative 6n plus 8 times m, and m is who? 4n plus 11. All of that equal to 36. So all I did was I replaced m with the equation that m is equal to. We can solve this now. What do I do first?
These parentheses.
Distribute. So that's negative 6n plus 32n plus 88 equals 36.
This is a large number.
It is a large number. Negative 6 plus 32 gives me 26n plus 88 equals 36.
Subtract 88.
Subtract 88. So you get 26n.
26.
26n equal to negative 52. Divide both sides by 26. So n equals
Negative 2.
negative 2. Oops. Put a bubble around that. So we know what n is, but we don't know what m is yet. Where can I plug it in? I can plug it into either one, but this one already has m by itself, right? So that's going to be a little bit easier. So m equals for n, but because we're trying to solve for m, I could plug it in here, but that would be extra work for myself. M is already by itself here. So that would be m equals 4 times negative 2 plus 11. So m equals negative 8 plus 11.
I got it right, I think.
So m equals positive 3. So how do I write that as an ordered pair? 3, comma, negative 2, because we want to put them in alphabetical order.
Will you get, like, on the test, different, letters?
We're not going to be able to finish it, but I can at least start it. Number 5, am I solved for a variable at all? No. So we need to pick one to solve for. Does anybody see one that might be easiest to solve for?
2x plus y.
The bottom, and we're going to solve for? How about y, because it's already by itself? So if we subtract 2x from both sides, that's going to give me a new equation of y equals negative 2x plus 9. Now you can substitute it in for y up here. So if a variable is not already solved for, you have to pick one to solve for. You can pick whichever one you want. I always try to do the easiest.